There are cities you visit and cities that haunt you. New Orleans belongs to the second kind. From the moment you step onto its cracked sidewalks, you can feel it, a rhythm that doesn't come from music alone, but from memory, loss, celebration, and survival. This is a city built below sea level, surrounded by water, history, and ghosts. A place where joy and tragedy have always walked side by side. Before it was called New Orleans, this land was already alive with meaning. Native tribes such as the Chitimacha lived along the Mississippi River, understanding its power long before levees tried to tame it. The river was not just water, it was a lifeline, a highway, and a force of nature that shaped everything around it. In 1718, French settlers founded La Nouvelle Orleans, choosing this muddy, swampy ground because of one simple reason: the river. The Mississippi connected the heart of North America to the Gulf of Mexico. Whoever controlled this city controlled trade, movement, and power. From the very beginning, New Orleans was different from other American cities. It was French, then Spanish, then French again, and finally American. Each culture left its mark. Architecture, food, language, and law blended into something unique, neither fully European nor fully American. And then there were the people. Africans were brought here in chains, forced to work the land and docks. But even in bondage, they carried music, rhythm, and spirit. In Congo Square, enslaved people gathered on Sundays to dance, drum, and sing. These rhythms would later become the heartbeat of jazz, one of America's greatest cultural gifts to the world. New Orleans became a place where cultures collided. French, Spanish, African, Caribbean, and Native American influences fused together. Creole and Cajun identities formed. Food evolved into something magical: gumbo, jambalaya, beignets, and spices that told stories of survival and adaptation. But this beauty was always fragile. The city was built in a bowl below the level of the surrounding water. Levees held back the Mississippi. Wetlands protected it from storms, and every hurricane tested those defenses. Despite the danger, New Orleans flourished in the 1800s. It became one of the richest cities in America, a hub of cotton, sugar, and shipping. Elegant mansions rose in the French Quarter and Garden District. Opera houses, theaters, and ballrooms filled the nights with light and music. And yet beneath the elegance, injustice was everywhere. Slavery, segregation, and inequality shaped daily life. After the Civil War, New Orleans became a battleground of race, politics, and power. But even in hardship, creativity thrived. Jazz was born here in brothels, bars, funerals, and street corners. It was the sound of sorrow and celebration woven together. Louis Armstrong, born in one of the city's poorest neighborhoods, would carry that sound to the world. New Orleans became a place where mourning and music merged, where funerals turned into parades, where pain was transformed into rhythm. And then, in the 21st century, the city faced its greatest test. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina arrived. The storm itself was powerful, but the real disaster came when the levees failed. Water poured into the city. Neighborhoods vanished under floodwaters. Thousands were stranded. Over 1,800 people died. The world watched as one of America's most iconic cities nearly disappeared. But New Orleans did not die. It struggled, it suffered, it changed, but it survived. And that is where the deepest part of the story begins. After Katrina, New Orleans stood at the edge of disappearance. Entire neighborhoods lay silent. Homes were marked with spray-painted symbols left by rescue teams. Families were scattered across the country. For a moment, it seemed possible that this city, with all its music, memory, and soul, might never fully return. But something extraordinary happened. People came back. They returned with hammers, with hope, with nothing but the need to rebuild. Musicians played on cracked sidewalks. Restaurants reopened with generators. Neighbors helped neighbors gut flooded homes. New Orleans did not wait for permission to survive. it simply did. The rebuilding was uneven and often painful. Some communities recovered quickly, while others waited years for basic services. Housing prices rose. Historic neighborhoods changed. Yet even through frustration and loss, the spirit of the city remained unmistakable. This was not a place that could be erased. New Orleans' culture, its music, its food, its rituals became an anchor. Jazz clubs reopened. Brass bands filled the streets. Mardi Gras returned not as a distraction but as a declaration: we are still here. At the same time, New Orleans became a symbol of something larger. Climate scientists pointed to Katrina as a warning, a glimpse of what rising seas and stronger storms could mean for coastal cities everywhere. The city became a living laboratory for resilience, disaster response, and urban planning in a warming world. Wetlands restoration projects began along the Louisiana coast, designed to rebuild the natural barriers that once protected the city. Engineers reimagined levee systems. Community groups organized for better housing, environmental justice, and infrastructure. New Orleans was not just rebuilding, it was rethinking how a city survives in the 21st century. Yet New Orleans is not defined only by disaster. It remains one of the most culturally rich cities on Earth. Few places have shaped global music as deeply. Jazz, blues, funk, and brass band traditions all trace their roots here. Each sound carries the memory of struggle and joy, intertwined in ways no algorithm could ever create. Food in New Orleans is storytelling. Gumbo reflects African, French, and Native American roots. Crawfish boils bring neighborhoods together. Every recipe carries history. Every bite is a reminder that survival is often creative. New Orleans also carries a complex racial history. Segregation, redlining, and inequality left deep scars. But the city also gave rise to some of America's most powerful Black cultural movements. From Mardi Gras Indians to civil rights activists, the fight for dignity and representation never stopped. In modern times, New Orleans has become a magnet for artists, writers, chefs, and musicians from around the world. People are drawn not by wealth, but by authenticity, by the sense that this place is real, imperfect, emotional, alive. And perhaps that is why New Orleans matters. Because it reminds us that cities are not just buildings and roads. They are people, memories, traditions, music played late into the night, food cooked slowly, stories passed down. New Orleans is not shiny or polished. It is raw, and that rawness is its greatest strength. As we move into the final chapter of this journey, we will step back and reflect on what New Orleans truly represents, not just to America, but to the human spirit. As night falls over New Orleans, the city exhales. The air grows thick with humidity and memory. Music drifts from doorways. Laughter echoes down narrow streets. Somewhere, a trumpet sings a lonely melody that feels older than the buildings around it. This is the heart of New Orleans, a place where time does not move in straight lines, but in rhythms. New Orleans has never been an easy city. It was built on swamps, shaped by floods, scarred by injustice, tested by storms, and yet few places on earth have held onto their soul as fiercely. While other cities race toward the future, New Orleans insists on remembering. It carries its ancestors in its songs, its food, its parades, its prayers. This is a city that understands something deeply human, that joy is more powerful when it grows out of sorrow, that celebration matters most when it follows loss, that dancing in the streets is not denial but defiance. Hurricane Katrina did not destroy New Orleans. It revealed it. It showed the world what happens when systems fail and communities are left to survive on their own. And it also showed something extraordinary, that even in the face of abandonment, people will rebuild if they have love for a place. Today, New Orleans remains vulnerable. Rising seas and stronger storms still threaten its future, but the city is no longer just waiting. Scientists, Engineers, activists, and neighbors are working together to protect what remains. Wetlands are being restored. Infrastructure is being reimagined. The fight is not easy, but neither is this city. New Orleans is not just preserving buildings, it is protecting memory. It is protecting the voices of jazz musicians who turned pain into beauty, the cooks who fed entire neighborhoods from small kitchens, the second-line dancers who carried grief through movement, the elders who refused to leave when everything else was washed away. This city teaches us that resilience is not about being unbreakable. It is about breaking and choosing to rise anyway. As our journey comes to an end, New Orleans stands not as a relic of the past, but as a living, breathing reminder of what makes us human: connection, creativity, community, courage. If this story moved you, if it made you feel something real, take a moment to support it. Like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more cinematic journeys through the places that shape our world. Because some cities don't just exist, they endure. And New Orleans will always endure.